Welcome to our channel, a journey back in time to the golden age of Israel under the rule of its wisest king, Solomon. Known for his legendary wisdom, immense wealth, and grand achievements, Solomon's reign was one of peace and prosperity. But as his life drew to a close, a shadow began to creep over his legacy. Join us as we uncover the mystery and drama surrounding the final days of King Solomon's life. King Solomon's life was a tale of greatness and grandeur. He built the magnificent First Temple in Jerusalem, established trade routes, and accumulated wealth beyond measure. His wisdom was so renowned that leaders from far and wide, like the Queen of Sheba, visited him to witness it firsthand. But with such glory also came the seeds of his eventual fall. In his later years, Solomon began drifting away from his devotion to God. Despite his wisdom, Solomon fell into the trap of indulgence. He married many foreign wives, forming alliances but also adopting their beliefs, worshiping idols, and ultimately compromising the faith that had once defined his kingdom. Slowly, Solomon's heart turned away from the God of Israel. Solomon's actions broke the covenant he had with God. His story teaches us that even the wisest of men can fall if they stray from their values. The very foundation of his reign, the loyalty and love of God, was being undermined by these choices. God sent prophets to warn Solomon, reminding him of the covenant and the consequences of turning away. However, these warnings went unheeded. God eventually revealed to Solomon that his kingdom would be divided after his death, a punishment for his actions. But out of respect for his father, King David, God promised to delay the kingdom's division until after Solomon's death. This prophecy foretold the eventual division of Israel, a turning point in the history of Solomon's descendants and the people of Israel. As his life neared its end, Solomon was left to reflect on his choices. Ecclesiastes, a book traditionally attributed to him, captures this internal struggle and realization. The wise king who once marveled at the wonders of life now described life as vanity of vanities. Solomon realized that wealth, power, and even wisdom are fleeting if one loses sight of true purpose and faith. He began to understand that his pursuits, though grand, were meaningless without devotion to God. One of the most defining aspects of Solomon's reign was his political marriages. He married foreign princesses from Egypt, Moab, Ammon, Sidon, and other nations, forming alliances that brought temporary peace and prosperity. But these alliances came at a spiritual cost. Solomon's wives brought their own gods and rituals to Israel, and in time, Solomon allowed these foreign influences to seep into his own life. These marriages, though politically strategic, led Solomon away from his devotion to the God of Israel. His once unwavering loyalty wavered, and the compromises he made for love and alliance would echo through the generations that followed. As Solomon grew older, he faced an internal struggle, a battle between his desires and his faith. His immense wisdom allowed him to recognize his wrongdoings, but his heart had become entangled in the wealth, power, and pleasures he accumulated. Solomon's writings in Ecclesiastes reveal a king disillusioned with the very things he once valued. Solomon questioned the meaning of life, work, and ambition, realizing the emptiness of these pursuits without spiritual grounding. This internal struggle paints a picture of a king torn between the wisdom he was blessed with and the choices that led him astray. As Solomon's life neared its end, he focused on preparing his son Rehoboam to inherit the throne. However, their relationship was strained by the kingdom's political challenges and Solomon's own reputation. Rehoboam, though ambitious, lacked his father's wisdom and empathy. This disconnect between father and son would ultimately lead to the kingdom's division. Despite Solomon's achievements, his inability to instill his values into his successor, Rehoboam, set the stage for conflict. When Rehoboam took the throne, he ruled with a heavy hand, ignoring the counsel of his father's advisors and deepening the divide within Israel. This marked the beginning of a fractured kingdom. Solomon's final years were marked by a profound realization. His choices had set a course that would impact his descendants for generations. His compromises led to political instability, idolatry, and the eventual downfall of the United Kingdom. Israel and Judah would each face wars, invasions, and spiritual decay, ultimately leading to exile and loss. The lessons from Solomon's life remind us that the choices we make today echo into the future. shaping not only our lives but also those of our descendants. His story is a powerful reminder of the importance of integrity, devotion, and wisdom in leadership. Though Solomon's wisdom and achievements left an indelible mark on history, his legacy is a complex one. The man who was once Israel's wisest king became a cautionary figure, a reminder of the dangers of losing sight of one's true purpose. Solomon's life, in its triumphs and failures, invites us to seek a life of balance, to hold fast to our values, and to remember that true wisdom lies in humility and faith. And so, the last days of King Solomon's life are remembered not just as the end of a powerful ruler, but as the end of an era. His story lives on, echoing through history, a blend of greatness and the humbling reminder that all kings, no matter how wise, are ultimately human. While Solomon's early reign was marked by peace, his later years were filled with political challenges. The rapid growth of Israel's wealth and influence brought diplomatic tensions and unrest among his subjects. Heavy taxes, forced labor, and the expansion of his empire strained relationships with neighboring kingdoms and his own people. Solomon's methods, though effective for his time, planted seeds of discontent. The forced labor and high taxes required to build his palaces, temples, and cities burdened the people of Israel. Resentment began to build, and this discontent would later play a critical role in the division of the kingdom under his son Rehoboam. Solomon's life reflects a profound and complicated relationship with God. Early in his reign, God appeared to Solomon twice, first granting him wisdom and then reaffirming the covenant. Solomon's faith was strong, and his reverence for God inspired the construction of the temple, a symbol of Israel's devotion. However, as time passed, Solomon's devotion waned, replaced by worldly pursuits. His heart, once focused on God, began to turn toward the idols and practices of his foreign wives. The God who had once blessed Solomon with wisdom now grew distant as Solomon's actions drove a wedge between himself and his faith. This journey from devotion to distance serves as a powerful reminder of the need for consistency in one's spiritual life. The temple Solomon built was more than just a structure. It symbolized Israel's unity, faith, and covenant with God. Built with unmatched grandeur and wealth, it became the heart of Israel's spiritual identity. But as Solomon turned from his faith, the temple also came to represent a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the grandest achievements can be empty without faith. The temple would eventually be destroyed during the Babylonian invasion, a powerful symbol of the nation's fall. Solomon's greatest work, meant to stand for eternity, would become a memory, teaching future generations that even the strongest foundations are vulnerable without spiritual integrity. Solomon's writings, preserved in books like Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon, capture a unique blend of youthful ambition, mature wisdom, and the reflections of a man facing his mortality. In Proverbs, we see the teachings of a young king eager to guide his people, full of optimism and moral clarity. In Ecclesiastes, however, we hear the voice of an aging Solomon grappling with life's meaning, the impermanence of earthly pursuits, and the struggle for contentment. These writings reveal Solomon's wisdom and vulnerability, offering timeless insights into human nature and spirituality. As Solomon approached the end of his life, he faced the ultimate question: what is the meaning of life if everything fades? His later reflections reveal a man confronting the reality of mortality, the fleeting nature of power, and the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. In Ecclesiastes, he famously writes, "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." Solomon realized that his achievements, while monumental, could not provide eternal fulfillment. His story encourages us to consider the legacy we leave behind, not just in material wealth or accomplishments, but in our relationships, faith, and the values we impart to future generations. Shortly after Solomon's death, the kingdom he had unified split into two: Israel to the north and Judah to the south. This division weakened the once powerful nation, making it vulnerable to external threats and internal conflicts. The divided kingdom was a direct consequence of Solomon's choices, fulfilling God's prophecy and forever altering the history of his descendants. The division of Israel stands as a stark reminder of the price of straying from one's principles and values. Solomon's legacy, though grand, came with a heavy cost for future generations. showing that the choices of one leader can shape the destiny of a nation. King Solomon's life, from a wise and promising youth to a conflicted and reflective elder, offers lessons that resonate across cultures and eras. His journey reminds us of the importance of staying true to our values, the perils of compromise, and the need for humility. Solomon's wisdom extended beyond his reign, providing teachings that still hold meaning today. As Solomon aged, he began to question the very achievements that had once defined him. His palaces, wealth, and the admiration of the world now felt hollow. In his writings, he would come to express a profound disillusionment with worldly pursuits, calling them vanity of vanities, a chasing after the wind. The wisdom that had brought him fame also led him to a sobering realization that life's treasures, wealth, power, and even knowledge are fleeting. Solomon recognized that without purpose, these things offered no lasting joy. Through these reflections, he grasped a universal truth, that true fulfillment comes not from what we accumulate, but from the values we hold close. In his final days, Solomon urged future generations to remember what he had once forgotten, that life's ultimate meaning lies in devotion and humility. His words still echo today, reminding us that while wealth and wisdom may be powerful, their value is only as enduring as the foundation upon which they are built. In the final days of his life, Solomon understood that his legacy would be both a source of pride and a cautionary tale. The grand temple, the wealth, and the wisdom he had amassed were admired by all, but they came with a lesson. Solomon realized that greatness without humility was fragile, and power without faith was fleeting. Despite his unmatched wisdom, Solomon's life served as a reminder that no one, no matter how wise, is immune to human flaws. His heart, once dedicated to God, was swayed by wealth and worldly desires, showing future generations the dangers of losing sight of one's core values. In his writings, Solomon expressed a simple truth: humility is the foundation of true wisdom. He urged his successors to remember that life's greatest achievements mean little without devotion and faith. His story, a mix of triumph and tragedy, endures as a timeless reminder that wisdom is not only about knowledge, but also about knowing when to stay grounded. In his last days, Solomon felt an urgency to pass on the wisdom he had gained, not just from his triumphs, but from his regrets. He understood that his choices had left both greatness and turmoil in their wake. In his writings, he left a plea for future generations to seek a life rooted in purpose and humility. Solomon urged his people to remember the fleeting nature of earthly pursuits. He warned that wealth and power alone could never bring true peace and fulfillment. Instead, he called on them to build their lives on a foundation of integrity, humility, and faith. For Solomon, this was the ultimate lesson of his life, a message he hoped would resonate long after he was gone. With his final reflections, Solomon left behind a timeless message: that wisdom means understanding one's limitations and living with a heart open to growth and faith. His words are not only a reminder of his journey, but a guide for all who seek to live with purpose and grace. Solomon passed away after 40 years of ruling Israel, leaving behind a mixed legacy. His wisdom, achievements, and wealth were unmatched. Yet his choices in the latter part of his life brought a division that would haunt his descendants for generations. The kingdom split into Israel and Judah shortly after his death, fulfilling God's prophecy. Solomon's story is a cautionary tale that even the greatest can fall, reminding us of the importance of faithfulness and humility, regardless of one's achievements. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life and final days of King Solomon. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories from history that explore the timeless truths of wisdom, faith, and the human experience. Until next time, remember, even the wisest can fall, but true wisdom lies in understanding and growth.